Hello everybody. This next pattern is called the Cains River Roaring Rapids. Now there's not a lot of literature out there on it. I'm tying this from Mike Valla's book on classic streamer patterns. It's not terribly difficult, but it's not all that easy to make it look good. But anyway, let's get started. I'll put the recipe in the description and explain the materials as I go. I've got a number 6, size 6, 3x long streamer hook. Got some 8/0 black thread here, 70 denier I guess. Lay a base down. We're going to take it back almost to the bend of the hook, probably the barb, before we tie the tail in. Now the tail on this is barred wood duck, so probably about 4 or 5 fibers. So just put your bodkin in there, get about 4, not a real big tail, but see that little piece right there? Now you'll want both the black bars showing. The wing of this fly is quite long, but you see that? We'll tie that in about, probably, yeah, I think that will look fine right there. Make sure it's pretty much on the top there. I think that looks fine. I'm going to go ahead and leave that down to, not that we want a thick base, but I'm going to put a bead of head cement down on this to help the body. We use silver tinsel for the body. So well, let's take this back and tie the tinsel in. Now this is medium, I guess number 14. I'm going to tie it with the silver side down, gold side up, because I want, when I flip it over, we want the silver to be showing. So catch this in all the way back to the start of the tail. Now finish your base up here. I'll put a couple of half hitches in right here. I'm going to wrap this by hand, so that's not going to be using the rotary function. That's not that vital. But let's put just a small little bit of head cement here. Not that much, so I'll wipe a little bit of that off. It might bead up as we wrap it, but that's fine if it does. We can wipe it off when we're done. So just take your time on this. I'm going to get that first one. I don't want too much black showing back here at the tail, but that's fine if you got a little bit. So slightly overlapping wraps here. Got a fair amount of tension on this as I wrap it up. Now you could certainly use the rotary function on your vise for this. If you're tying a bunch of these for fishing and not for making YouTube videos, then you probably would. It'd be just a little bit quicker, but it only takes a minute or so to wrap this body manually. And after we get all the feather wings on it, you don't see a whole lot of this body anyway, but you'll see enough of it. So you want a nice shiny silver body going all the way up to maybe an eye length, or maybe 2 eye lengths back. I think that will be fine right there. So a couple of securing wraps behind it. I'll do one in front and then another one behind it just to get it in tight. Okay. Now the next part is about the only challenging part of this fly. It's getting the red and yellow hackle feathers. It's a feather wing. So take two of your red hackles, two of your yellow, two red on the inside, two yellow on the outside. So like I said, this is about the hardest part. It's not too challenging, it just takes you a little bit of time to get these lined up right. Or probably the longest amount of time is picking the best feathers out of a neck. Now it's a pretty long streamer here. It's going well past the tail, or well past the bend of the hook, maybe just a little farther back than the tail. And I probably should have spent a little more time picking some better feathers here. You can see they're not necessarily bending right on the back there. Turn it over, see if those look any better. And not that much better. You can always lick your fingers and try to straighten these out. Sometimes that will work. This back yellow one is just sticking a little further out than I'd like. See what I'm talking? This is probably takes the most time in getting this right. You know, that I got a red one back there wanting to go all over the place, but I think I'm going to go with that. Now what you might want to do is, after you find your length right there, let's move this a little forward here. With your material hand, hold it tight. See, that's going to be a bit, if we tie that in right there, we're going to have a big mess at the head. So hold this really tight. It's my left hand. Pull a lot of these out. You might need to take your bodkin and reach in there to free some of these up. Okay, is that going to be... That might work right there. Now, tying this a good bit back, because we do have some blue hackle to go on the front in a second. So let's back our thread up just a little bit more. Tie this in. Let's go for it right there and see how that's going to look. Okay, it's laying a little lower than I'd want, but especially this one on the back here. Let's see if we can get this one propped up before we tie it in. Alright. So like I said, this is the most challenging part to getting your fly to look good. These feathers are splaying out on me back here, but that'll happen. Alright, let's continue on with it. Maybe, you know what, I'm going to put a wrap underneath these. Sometimes that'll help you to get them up a little bit. Maybe not that much up. Okay, they're a little bit all over the place. These feathers aren't the greatest, but we're going to go with what we got here. Now go ahead and trim these off. Now next piece on it is the jungle cock eyes. Usually most streamers that's the last thing you put on, but not this pattern. This one you put them on and then you'll put the final blue hackle on it. So got a few scraggly sticking down there at the bottom. We can trim those off in a second if we want, but it's pretty good size jungle cock eye. You'll get both the yellow and the white nails showing. So see that? Pretty good size, sticking back pretty far. Now just do the same thing on the other side. Check out the lengths. You got it angled up about like your hackle is pulling up. So don't worry about making this too neat right there, because we're going to have wrap some blue hackle on the front in just a second. So go ahead and trim these butt ends off. Now just take a standard saddle hackle like those yellow and red ones we were, but this time blue. I don't know if you can see that with the background, but just a kingfisher dyed blue. Now pull it out, get our tip ready to tie in. Couple or 3 wraps. Fold this back on itself to lock it in before we trim it off. Now don't worry about those loose ones just yet. We'll bury these or trim them in a second. So just wrap this like you do any hackle, front hackle or dry fly hackle. I got a few sticking in here. I'll try to pull those out. So try to preen them back a little bit as you go around. Now it's pretty, I don't want to say too bushy, but it's kind of bushy for the front here. So we might get 6 or 7 wraps to have this thing looking right. And maybe 5 or 6. Let's see. If you haven't been counting, it's at least 4. Alright. One more and we'll tie it off. So go ahead and secure this. Okay. Can you tell that nice blue on there? Let's get this head cleaned up. A little red on my finger. So we got a few little ones wanting to go forward there, so I'm going to keep trying till I get them caught. And there's one I'm going to just have to cut, I guess. Okay, that looks okay up front there. Go ahead and trim this one little one. That's good enough. And build up a medium-sized head on this. It is a streamer after all. And we're just about done with it. Let's go ahead and put a 4 or 5 turn width finish on it. And we'll put our head cement and wrap it up. You can see these feathers right here. I probably didn't pick the best ones for the wing that I could have, but it's hard to find perfect feathers in a big mess of dyed saddle hackle. So I'm going to use UV resin quick dry for the head. You could use this or any standard head cement. I like this because it looks fine, and probably it dries a lot quicker than old school head cement. So just spin it around, get all your thread wraps coated, and put your UV light on it for about 10 seconds. And there you have it. The Cains River Roaring Rapids classic streamer pattern. That's all. Thanks for watching.